From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. This week on the show, we conclude our series of interviews with those who want to be Nashville's mayor. We've already had all four of the major candidates on the program earlier in the year, but we wanted to give our viewers one more opportunity to see and hear from the mayoral candidates before early voting began, or at least before Election Day on August 1st. Our guest this week is Dr. Carol Swain, a retired law and political science professor at Vanderbilt University. Dr. Swain, in fact, was our first guest in this latest candidate series back in June. But the storm coverage that night, on the Friday night that we did the interview, sort of preempted our interview being on the air, at least on the main channel here at News Channel 5. So we invited her to come back again. Dr. Swain, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, we've begun this interview as we did before with one simple question. Why do you want to be mayor?
I want to be mayor of Nashville because I believe Nashville needs a candidate that is an outsider, that's not part of the system. And as I've traveled around Davidson County with the other candidates, I'm more convinced than ever before that there has to be fresh ideas, someone who's not tied to the current system.
Other than being the outsider, why would you be a better mayor than your opponent? Let's start with the incumbent, David Riley. Why would you be a better mayor than him?
I would say that, first of all, I have taught and studied politics and government, looking at urban systems, and so I know what works and what doesn't work. But I think that when you have people who are part of political dynasties, that politics is the family business, that you're less likely to get creative ideas or even people that can relate to everyday, men and women. And as you know about my background, I worked real jobs before I became a professor, in the sense that I've worked as a nurse's aide, I worked in a garment factory, I've sold things from door to door, I worked in fast food for half a day. And so I've really lived the American experience. Metro
Councilman at Large John Cooper is one of your opponents. He was not in the race when you were here back earlier in the spring. Why should voters select you and not him?
Well, again, that's someone that's part of a political dynasty, and you may recall that Councilmember Cooper gave an interview, I believe in January, when he said he was leaving politics. He was leaving city council. He was going into private life, and that was actually a factor in my decision to run. I liked Councilmember Cooper because we share some of the same ideas when it comes to government being fiscally responsible, but Councilmember Cooper got into the race 2 days after my financial report was released for the first quarter, and so I wonder about why he did that. I don't think he would be a better mayor than me because he is part of the entrenched system. He's had an opportunity to make changes. He didn't make those changes while he was in office.
John Ray Clemens, state representative, is the third major candidate in the race besides yourself. Why would you be a better mayor than him?
Well, John Ray Clemens is clearly the best looking male in the race, and so he's like eye candy for a lot of people.
Have you told him that?
I've told him that. But his ideas, I think, are probably too far to the left than most Nashvillians, and I think that he's very intelligent, he's very passionate, but that he doesn't quite get it. I don't think the ideas he has, even for education, will actually work. And so I like him a lot personally. I like all the candidates, but I think that some of the things that he's pushing would not be in the best interest of Nashville.
You mentioned John Cooper before. You got in the race, then he got in the race. But when you got in, you said you probably wouldn't be running if John Cooper was. Now he got in. Are you two taking votes away from each other?
Well, right. I mean,
you're splitting the vote.
I mean, he is running pretty much as if he was a Republican, going to Republican events, and then when he goes to Democrat events, you get something different. But I like John Cooper, and I would not have gotten into the race if I had thought he was going to run. But when he announced that he was leaving politics, I got into the race. I raised $118,000. 2 days later, he gets into the race. And I really was puzzled by that.
If you're not successful August 1st and there is a runoff and John Cooper's involved in it, will you likely endorse him and support him in the runoff?
I don't know. It depends. I don't know, but if I have to vote, I would vote for Cooper over the other two.
Now you finished.
Of course, I have to vote because I'm a good citizen, and so I probably would. And
well, you'll probably be asked about endorsements if you don't make the runoff.
I plan to win on August 1st outright, and so you should ask them if they're going to endorse me.
Well, I've asked that question for a couple of other candidates when they've been in here. You finished second last year in the special mayoral election. You got 23%. How do you plan to get from 23% to 50% plus one on August 1st?
As you recall, there were 13 candidates in the race, and many of them had lots of political experience. Some had run citywide, and so 23% coming in number 2, I mean, that was a great showing for someone without political experience. What I have done is this time it's been different. We've had more time. We've done debates where I've been able to perform really well. And I've also been all around Davidson County talking with groups of people. And when I talk with people, many of them come up to me and they say, I was planning to support John Cooper, or I was planning to support David Browley, but after hearing you, I'm going to vote for you. So I kind of think that the more people I can touch and reach, I believe that I can win. And I don't know if you have to break right now, but if you
close, but go ahead.
You don't. The issues that affected Nashville, they're not red or blue, they're black and white, and that's why I'm wearing black and white today.
You told me you were going to say that. You've raised several $100,000 this time, but both Mayor Briley and John Cooper have raised a good bit more. John Cooper's loaned himself a good bit more of that. How do you compete against somebody who has those kind of financial resources? Is it difficult?
Well, yes, very difficult, and I think for the average person, they see how much money is involved in politics, and it can be very corrupting. People who are very wealthy, they can put unlimited amounts of their own money into their campaigns, and then they have friends, you know, that have a lot of money they can put in for them. So it's been more challenging for me, but my money that I have raised, it's come from just grassroots, most of it from grassroots, and I am doing very well, I believe, but at a disadvantage because I don't have deep pockets. I have to depend on the people rather than business developers and people that have interest in the city or my daddy's friends.
Dr. Carol Swain is our guest. She's a candidate for mayor in the August 1st election here in Metro, coming up in just a couple of weeks. Back to continue our conversation after this break.